When we picture the spiritual seeker, our modern ideal is often the lone wolf, the solitary figure on a mountaintop, the wandering ascetic who casts off all worldly ties to find enlightenment entirely on their own. We sometimes project this ruggedly individualist image onto the Buddha himself, a solitary hero who sat under a tree and won the battle for awakening all by himself. But the historical record reveals something fascinating. After his enlightenment, what was one of the very first things the Buddha did? He sought out others. And what did he spend the next 45 years tirelessly building? Not a monument, not a definitive scripture, but a community. A radical social and spiritual experiment called the Sangha, the community of monks and nuns. He didn't just create a teaching. He created a container specifically designed to hold it. And this leads to a fundamental question for many of us today. Why? Why this emphasis on monasticism? In a world that values family, careers, and social engagement, the life of a renunciate, a bhikkhu, a monk, or a bhikkhunicess, a nun, can seem like an extreme rejection of everything we hold dear. Is it an escape? An outdated tradition from a bygone era? Or is there a profound and practical genius to this ancient structure that we might be missing? Welcome to the Mindful Compass. Today, we're going to go beyond the robes and the shaved heads to explore why the monastic Sangha is considered the ideal training ground for the mind in the Buddhist tradition. We'll discover that it's less about rejecting the world and more about creating a specialized laboratory for understanding the nature of reality. To understand the genius of the monastic Sangha, we first have to appreciate the problem it was designed to solve. The life of a householder, the life most of us lead, is wonderfully rich, but it is also endlessly complex. It's a life of jobs and joys, bills and babies, gains and losses. Our minds are constantly pulled in 1,000 different directions by our responsibilities, our relationships, and our desires. Trying to find deep, unwavering stillness in the midst of this is like trying to study the stars in the middle of a brightly lit, bustling city. The Buddha, approaching this with the mind of a spiritual scientist, understood that to study a phenomenon, you must first create the right conditions. If the phenomenon is the nature of your own mind, you need a laboratory. The monastic Sangha is that laboratory, and its design rests on 3 foundational pillars. The first pillar is radical simplicity. A monk or nun intentionally steps away from the complexities of finances, career ambition, romantic partnership, and raising a family. This is not a judgment that these things are bad. It is a practical recognition that they consume enormous amounts of time and mental energy. By renouncing them, a practitioner frees up that energy and redirects it inward. Think of an Olympic athlete. To prepare for the games, they enter a training bubble. They simplify their life to a single point of focus. The monastery is a spiritual training bubble. The second pillar is the Vinaya. This is the code of conduct that governs monastic life. To modern ears, its hundreds of rules can sound restrictive, but its primary purpose is not restriction. It is the creation of a frictionless social environment. The Vinaya is a kind of social technology, a set of agreements that minimizes conflict over resources, status, and personal preferences. By automating the details of daily life, from how to receive food to how to share a dwelling, it frees the mind from the constant, draining negotiations of social living, allowing practitioners to focus on the real inner work. The third, and perhaps most important pillar, is community. This is the direct antidote to the lone wolf ideal. To live surrounded by people who share your deepest values and are dedicated to the same goal is an incredible source of support. Your fellow monastics are your accountability partners, your mentors, your living library of experience, and your friends on the path. The Buddha once told his attendant Ananda that spiritual friendship is not half of the holy life. It is the entire holy life. The Sangha is the institutionalization of that principle. Together, these three pillars, simplicity, the Vinaya, and community, create a powerful container, a kind of spiritual greenhouse designed to protect the practice from the storms of the world and accelerate the growth of wisdom and compassion. So, what does this ancient model mean for those of us who will not be ordaining as monks or nuns? Is it just an interesting piece of history? Absolutely not. The true genius of the Sangha lies in its design principles, and these principles are universal. While we may not live in the ideal laboratory, we can still learn to build a better one, right in the midst of our modern lives. We can think of it as building our own spiritual greenhouse. We can translate the pillar of radical simplicity into intentional simplicity. We may not renounce all possessions, but we can practice minimalism and conscious consumption. We can't eliminate all our responsibilities, but we can schedule time for digital detoxes, for silence, for simply being instead of doing. It's about consciously turning down the noise, even for a few moments each day. We can translate the monastic Vinaya into a personal framework. We don't need hundreds of rules, but we can establish our own healthy routines and ethical boundaries. This could be as simple as committing to the 5 precepts, setting a consistent time for morning meditation, or creating a rule not to check emails after a certain hour. This personal structure creates predictability and stability, conserving our energy for what matters most. And we can translate the monastic community into a quest to find our Sangha. We must actively seek out our Kalyana Mitta, our spiritual friends. This might be a local sitting group, a book club, an online forum, or even just 1 or 2 trusted friends with whom we can have honest conversations about the path. We don't have to walk alone. Let's make this practical with a short reflection we can call strengthening your greenhouse. Take a moment to consider these 3 pillars in your own life. First, simplicity. What is one source of complexity or distraction, digital or physical, that you could reduce, even slightly this week? Second, framework. What is one healthy routine or personal boundary you could establish to better support your well-being? And third, community. Who is one person or group you could connect with this month to feel more supported on your journey? The goal isn't to change everything at once. It's to find one small, actionable step you can take to make the container for your practice just a little bit stronger. The monastic Sangha, in the end, is not an escape from the world. It is a powerful testament to a timeless truth, that the environment we create profoundly shapes the mind within it. The Buddha's greatest project was a community, a recognition that while the work of liberation is personal, the journey is not solitary. We do not have to be monks or nuns to honor this wisdom. We honor it every time we simplify our lives, establish a wise routine, or reach out to a friend on the path. The perfect container may be rare, but a better container is always possible. What is one way you try to create simplicity or find community in your own busy life? Please share your wisdom with all of us in the comments below. If this exploration was helpful, please like this video and subscribe to the Mindful Compass. Thank you for exploring the path with me. May you skillfully build a life that protects your practice, and may you find good friends to walk beside you.